So let's discuss for a minute why we care about clean air in general and why the Clean Air Act is so important. So we care about clean air because atmospheric pollutants harm human health, but they also harm the health of animals and they harm ecosystem health in general. And then also you can see evidence of atmospheric pollution and its impacts on statues and infrastructure. So for example, on the Washington Mall, where there's many different monuments, you can see that many of them have either been discolored or they have been affected by the loss of detail in the carvings because the like acid in acid rain, for example, slowly eats away at some of the intricate carvings in the rock. So in terms of human health, of course, that's kind of what people think of first. Our respiratory system is the first line of defense. So you breathe in the atmospheric pollutants into your lungs, and that's the first part of your body that's exposed to these atmospheric pollutants. Then they can get into your bloodstream, and they can also cause issues in the rest of your body. But much of them, a lot of these pollutants get filtered out in your lungs. The average person breathes in more than 3,000 gallons of air per day. So that's a lot of potential exposure to pollutants all day long as you're breathing in polluted air. These pictures are showing some examples of what a healthy lung looks like and what a diseased lung looks like when it has filtered out a lot of pollutants. And then you can also see how it can damage the tissue inside of the lungs. One of the main diseases that's associated with atmospheric pollutants is COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. This is a progressive lung disease that makes it hard for people to breathe, and it's really not one disease by itself. It's really three different diseases. Some people will have only one of these diseases. Some people will have more than one. But the three diseases that make up COPD include emphysema, which destroys the alveoli in the lungs. Then there's also bronchitis and asthma. COPD can be caused from a number of different exposures, so most people are exposed to many different pollutants throughout their lifetime, and many of these are in the atmosphere surrounding them. There's nothing you can do to filter them out. But the leading cause of COPD is known to be cigarette smoke. So that's one of those where people are electing to expose themselves to that atmospheric pollutant. So 85 to 90% of cases in the United States are considered to be preventable because they're caused by cigarette smoke. So it is a huge problem in the United States. COPD is the third leading cause of death in the United States. More than 11 million people have this disease at any given time, but many people go undiagnosed. So there's probably more millions of people that have COPD, but that's the number of people that are diagnosed at any given time. Globally, COPD is the fifth leading cause of death, and this number is on the rise as more people in developing nations begin to take on some of our habits, especially smoking. It's predicted to be the third leading cause of death in developing nations and around the globe by the year 2030 if current trends continue. And these statistics are from the American Lung Association and the World Health Organization. A common issue with atmospheric pollutants is asthma. Asthma is an immune system disorder that causes airways to constrict and breathing to be impaired. Asthma can be triggered by allergens, which are a natural pollutant, and or by compounds in polluted airs that are not natural, such as ozone or particulate matter. So particulate matter can be dust, which is a natural source, or wildfire, or it can come from industrial pollution sources. In the United States, about 8% of people suffer from asthma. The rate of incidence has increased recently, and a big increase was seen between the years of 2000 and 2010. That has leveled off a little bit, but it is slowly still rising, just more slowly. When you look at deaths from asthma, it's not equitable. So women are more likely to die from asthma than men. Black Americans are 2 to 3 times more likely to die from asthma than any other racial or ethnic group. And so there's a many questions surrounding this. Why is this? Why do we see different groups at higher risk? Some people discuss the fact of the environment. So what environment are you in? Are you in areas that tend to have more pollution, which puts you at higher risk? And then also some of it is genetic as well. So some of it is passed down. So this is just a cartoon showing what happens during an asthma attack. There's also a video that you can watch from the American Lung Association on YouTube. But I just wanted to point out 3 main things that happen during an asthma attack. So one thing is that the muscles around the airway contract. So these muscles right here, they look like little strings. They contract, which makes it harder for air to flow through these big tubes. Also, the airways swell. So inside of these airways, the tissue swells up, and so the opening is smaller and less air can get in. And then finally, the lungs and your body produces mucus that fills up these airways. And so the airway opening is already smaller, but then mucus is filling them up. And so that's why people have so much trouble breathing during an asthma attack. So I'm going to switch gears now and go from human health to plant health. Some scientists will argue, and it is true, plants are more sensitive to air pollution often than humans and animals, especially certain types of chemical compounds. During the growing season, plants are growing very quickly. They're respiring a lot through their stomata, so they're taking in a lot of air, and they're building tissue from the air that they're taking in. And so as they build tissue from polluted air, it causes that tissue to be damaged. The primary pollutant that we are concerned about when we talk about plants and damage to plants is ozone. Ozone damages crops, but it also damages forests and orchards. So lots of different things. This is a picture showing damage to plants from ozone, and you can see that it looks kind of like black lung disease for plants. So just like humans can get black lung disease, plants are getting damaged similarly as they take in ozone. There's also an economic cost associated with air pollution in crops. So the higher the levels of ozone, so this is the effect of ozone on the yield of crops, we see that the yield goes way down as you increase the amount of ozone in the air. And the crop that's most affected by ozone levels is cotton. So cotton is a big crop in some southern parts of the country. Peanuts, soybeans, those are also big crops that get affected by ozone, and then winter wheat and corn also are affected.